Hi everyone, thanks for coming to my channel. Scarlett Roams the Globe. I'm Fran Scarlett and I'm going to talk to you today about high-low travel, luxe and low budget at the same time. This is in response to a question I see often on social media. How much money should I take? Or, what's it going to cost me to go to this particular place, country, city? And the answer is it depends, right? It depends on what is your vision for the trip. I have a session called Planning a Solo Trip Using the Views Framework. So I'm going to talk about it in that context. The V in Views is what's your vision for the trip, right? And what's your itinerary is the I. And so let's focus on those two things. What's the experience you want to have? Asking me how much to take is one of those questions that it doesn't make sense because you don't know what my vision for my trip was. You don't know how many things I did. You don't know any of those things, right? So you're more than likely to get a false number about what to take. Someone recently just asked me, they knew I'd been to Cuba, Havana, and they said, well, how much money should I take? And I said, I would take about $150 for spending because food is cheap and so on. And they were like, no, I mean, how much should I take for food? I want to take $100 for food. And I thought, okay, take $100 for food. That's your whatever. My tip was, make sure you take enough money because you can't access an ATM. You can't access your credit cards in Havana. So you kind of have to play that one a little bit right, like err on the side of more because you can always bring your money back. I think the first place to start when you start talking about how much does something cost, or how much will it cost me, is the two biggest expenses, which is airfare and accommodation. You can travel business class, you can travel super premium, super light economy, like you get one little bag to bring on the plane. I've done that level of travel, sort of. But I've also done business class. It depends on the cost of business class if I'm going to fly business class. I kind of have a rule that if it's over 6 hours, I fly business class. But when I went to Singapore, the business class ticket was over $6,000. No, that was not in my budget. So I did premium economy and upgraded myself a little bit to a solo seat in premium economy. That cost me about $1,300. A lot less than $6,000, and I don't even know if there was an option for regular economy on that flight. But obviously, $1,250, $1,300 is a lot less than $6,000. Accommodations were ranged from places that were like $55 a night to places that were $300 a night. Singapore, very expensive city. One of the most expensive cities in the world, much less Southeast Asia. Rest of the place, relatively. Food, same thing. I routinely ate in Vietnam dinners for about $3.75. Good, really good meals, filling meals, $3.75. I did eat an expensive meal in Cambodia on my birthday. It was a 4-course dinner and it came with a particular dance show and so on and so forth at a very sort of high-end hotel. And I think I paid $65 for that meal. It was the most expensive meal I ate in my travels through Southeast Asia, except for, you guessed it, Singapore, where I had lunch. I was treated to lunch, thankfully, That was about $150 for the lunch, right? Singapore is really expensive. So I could tell you it was $150 for lunch in Singapore, and I can also tell you it was $3.75 for dinner in Vietnam. I could have eaten $375 dinners the entire time in most of Southeast Asia, if I chose to, right? But I could also eat really expensive dinners as well. Again, it depends on the vision you have for your trip. I wanted authentic Southeast Asian food. Thai food is great. Vietnamese food is great. Laotian food is great. Malaysian food was great. So again, you don't have to spend a lot of money, but you can spend a lot of money if you so choose. Entertainment, excursions, those things can be expensive. I've done excursions that were $600, like a hot air balloon ride in the Serengeti, which it was worth every nickel I paid for that. I've also done things like gone on street art walking tours that were free. It depends on what you're interested in doing and what your vision is for that trip. If I only told you that I did $600 excursions in the Serengeti, you'd be like, ooh, I can't afford that. Conversely, you might be like, oh boy, she's a cheapskate. She only does free walking tours. No, I do everything in between. Depends on the experience I'm trying to have. I like jazz clubs. I like to dance. I'm going to try to do that in any place that I visit. Some people like to go to concerts. I've heard people building trips around going to see Beyonce in Amsterdam, right? At $1,000 for a ticket. All your vibe. I wouldn't do that. Someone else would be more than willing to do that and has no interest in going to a jazz club. Whatever floats your boat works for me. Souvenirs. I'm not a big shopper. I tend to buy 3 kinds of souvenirs. A t-shirt for my son anywhere I go, a refrigerator magnet anywhere I go, and some piece of jewelry anywhere I go. Those items tend to be light. I have no interest in paying extra for my luggage, and not only are they light, they tend to be small, and I can roll them up and tuck them into something to save space. So those are my thoughts around what I call Luxe and Low Travel. It all depends. Sometimes my trips have a combination of Luxe and Low. Sometimes they're all Luxe, sometimes they're not usually all low, but certainly middle of the road, with a few low things thrown in and a few Luxe things thrown in. So hopefully you found this helpful. I'd love to hear your comments, other things that you think are with regard to low and Luxe. Let me know. And thanks for coming to this particular YouTube session. I will see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.